He's the gratitude maker. He is the founder of his own company that we'll start talking about. And I love that. And he's the sobriety king. And man, there's so many good storylines behind you, buddy. And you and I haven't known each other that long. We just had our first real conversation before we got on air. And you have so many good nuggets. And the best part about you've got a great story, but you are pretty amazing. And thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much, Brad. It's so awesome to be on your show. Can I just say a couple of things? First of all, your accent just makes me happy, man. Yeah, mate, it's just so good to hear your accent. It always lifts my spirits. Like I love America. I'm obsessed with America. And whenever I get the opportunity to come onto a show in America, it makes me happy straight up, mate. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I tell you, it makes me feel the same way. In fact, I could probably just sit here and listen to you talk for 25 minutes and I'd be okay with that.
Crazy, isn't it? The way. Hey, and can I also touch on, part of that name, the Sobriety King, and we will get into this stuff. It's one of those things, like, I'm the king because today I haven't used any drugs or alcohol. I don't try and imply that I'm the king at doing this forever. That's not what I'm trying to say, It's important that I acknowledge that, because part of sobriety is just realizing I've got it just for today, But for today, I'm the Sobriety King, bro.
Yes. You're the king in my book today, buddy.
You're a legend, mate. Thank you.
And we're going to get into your story a little bit. You and I were also kind of talking about, and I don't know how many people know this about me, but there's a lot of story behind me growing up in terms of where I know you had said, I've heard you say that you have a lot of stories that can help you relate to people. And I'm kind of the same way. I'm kind of a big storyteller. And really what attracts me to your story and what gives me so much respect for you is it hasn't been smooth sailing for you. And I have a sister that so my mom was married once before she met my dad, and so she had 2 kids there, and then met my dad, and then they had 3 kids there. And my sister had a really hard time with it, and high school dropout, got into a gang, got into, was a meth addict, meth dealer, that kind of stuff. And for years, but the whole time she always had a big heart. Like she always had a good heart. She never, because there's people that really get hateful when they're in that kind of that warp.
Yes.
Yeah. But she was never like that. She was always loving and had a good heart, but she was just into all the wrong stuff and wrong crowd. And we always protected her. We have so many stories where she should have been caught and she wasn't. And it was because people thought they were doing her right, when, as you know, they weren't, unknowingly. And she finally got thrown in. And in America, they got something called, if you're fortunate enough, they can give you something called a rider, where you got 180 days. The judge says you got 180 days to check off all these things on your box. Like she had to get her GED, she had to go to this class, she had to go to that class, she had to do all this stuff. And if she did it, she was out. And if she didn't, she was going to be guaranteed fixed in for 10 years minimum. Wow. So it's, get it done or you're in for 10. And but she did it, and it was a game changer for her. And she's been a manager. She's just crushing it. She's a phenomenal grandparent to her kids, and she's just a rock star, a little bit like you. So I have that's one of the reasons I'm drawn to you, is and so much appreciation for you, because I know it hasn't been easy. There's been probably a lot of struggle with you, your family, everything, and yet look at you today, killer.
Thanks, Brad. And I absolutely acknowledge that hurt and pain that the families and yourself and your family were going through. It's one of the things, strangely enough, that I'm really, it's not strangely enough, but it's one of the things that I'm really drawn to these days is speaking to family members. One day, like we were talking at the beginning of the show about creating podcasts, it's one thing I'd love to do, but I just don't have the time for it. But yeah, mate, it's a hard road. It can be, you know what I mean? Yeah,
Right.
it certainly can.
So
That's
you,
wonderful, sister. That's amazing that she managed to see the light, I guess, you know, to
no
pull her head
question.
in. What's your sister's name?
Tracy.
Tracy. Yeah, good
Yeah.
on Tracy. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Good to hear, man.
She's and yeah, the whole, man, I don't mean to make this a whole thing about me, but it is pretty incredible because, and there's more to that. There's more layers to it. I mean, her kids kind of repeated her deal, and they've recovered and they're killing it. But I used to, teach in the classroom, and I would always have former or recovering addicts come in. So in my area, there was a place called the Meth Project where recovering addicts would come in and they would speak to students in high school. And
Yeah,
it was always the most impactful day of the entire year. They
yeah,
would they would tell their story, and man, the thing about it and the thing about you is you feel it. You feel the story. You feel it. And most of them would say the same thing. You go down that road, you're lucky to not either end up dead or in jail, in prison for who knows how long. Uh, I mean, 99% of them would say that. So I'm curious about you. Like, you go around and you speak to people now. What would you say the most, because we haven't even really got into the meat of your deal. What would you say we're trying to make this thing all about me. How am I doing?
no, we're doing good. That's all right, Brad. No worries. Like I said, I love to listen to family members of those affected because I've got this level of what's it called when you not empathy,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel it like
Yes.
which
Yes.
is why I'm good at what I do. I think, you know.
Oof, no doubt
But
about it.
sorry, what was the question? Oh yeah, I get to share the message of recovery
Right.
on a daily basis, and I do all of that stuff. At no cost. We talked about in the beginning. I do it selfishly, actually, because I believe the more I give away, the more the universe provides. You know, it's just my way of looking after myself. Is I keep what I have by giving it away, mate. So,
Yes.
Anyone out there ever needing some information can always reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to have a chat. You know, about
Absolutely. So what would you say, there's a lot to your story. I mean, it starts when you're like 14, 15, 16, and then there's the middle, and then there's where you're at now. What would you say the most impactful part of your story is when you're talking to groups? What would you say the most impactful part is to those peeps?
See, it's funny because you just touched on this thing about that day when the students listen to the addicts coming in, it being the most powerful day. You got to understand, for me, I just do this every day. Actually, I'm surrounded by it. I have been for the last 11 years, so it doesn't feel impactful at all. However, me appearing on the LinkedIn platform, for one thing, and talking about this stuff in a global capacity, I've noticed that far out, people seem to like this stuff. People who aren't affected, because we're all affected in some way, a family member, like you touched on. But I don't know, mate, what the most impactful thing. I think there's a couple of things. I died 15 times, I overdosed 15 times, where I would have been dead if I wasn't found by a paramedic or somebody who rang a paramedic, you know. I think that would be a big impactful thing.
Right.
You know, it doesn't get more serious than that. In my time, I escaped from jail once, and I also fell out of a third story of a rehab trying to climb back in after escaping to go and get onto some heroin. So, but maybe the most impactful thing, because that stuff's all a little bit ego driven, you know.
Yeah.
But maybe it's one day after 17 years of trying to stop, I took a different path. I made a different decision just one day to not get on the bus and go up to the King's Cross. I decided to get on the other bus and go back to rehab. And from that day onwards, I really have never come close to using again. And that was almost 11 years ago now. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened exactly. A lot of hard work from that day onwards, but I've got no desire to touch a drink or a drug. In fact, I feel sorry for people who feel like they have to have a drink or a drug, which makes sense, you know?
Right. Yeah, I remember you talking about that. I've heard you talk about that a little bit, where you basically, after 60 days, I think it was like what, 2009, somewhere in there.
Yes.
Yeah, you had been in for 60 days, and you could have gotten on the negative train or the positive train, and you made the right decision. And if I remember right, when you went back, there were still no guarantees, right? But they could have still done something with you, maybe it's some ramifications, but they appreciated you. And they, I look at that in life. I'm a big growth guy. Like I feel like the only stat you should measure in life is growth. And, I feel like those people were kind of in that mindset, maybe unknowingly, but they saw you growing. They saw you making a good decision. And for that, they rewarded you, and, they kept you on your journey to where you are now.
Thank you so much. You've obviously watched my profile video. I had this most amazing 6-minute production made about my life and my business, Encapsulator, and what you're talking about is from that video. And yeah, mate, it's true, So blessed. I don't know how this has all happened. Although I say that often too, like, I don't know how I got here, but let me tell you this. I do acknowledge that I've worked my ass off hard as well on a daily basis. Like, I can't forget that. If I forget that, then maybe I won't be here, tomorrow.
Right. Do you, you share your story so often. Do you believe that vulnerability is, like, embracing vulnerability is a strength?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Good question. Absolutely. In fact, embracing vulnerability, I could even say it's a manipulation too. Like, I'm going off track a bit, but when you embrace your vulnerability, it's almost like you're going to guarantee people are going to give you a bit of attention. And that's where I say it's a bit manipulative too, and I'm all about balance and making sure I'm trying to be as spiritual as possible. And when I say spiritual, I just mean be a good person. So, but yeah, I think absolutely. I talk on a daily basis to people about being brave and having some courage to share their truth, because that's the truth will set you free. God, that's corny, but it's so true. Like, if you're being dishonest, what chance have you got? Ever? Right. You got no chance. Let me tell you that much.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I mean, that's kind of one of the staples in most of the conversations I have with people is if you err on the side of honesty, if you err on the side of, meditating on the truth, you can sleep at night. Because, the name of this podcast is Best Self Podcast. Being your best self requires you to be meditating on the truth, like just being your true, authentic self. And I did a piece on bullying not too far back, and all this stuff kind of ties together. I'm kind of rabbit trailing, but you can be your best self. You can sleep at night. That's all you need. You can't be someone else. You just be your best authentic self.
Look, Brad, if I can share, like, I do this thing every day for the last, let's say, 10 years. And I've talked about it recently in content, is this checkup from the neck up. It's a daily inventory, and it's where I absolutely, every single day without fail, is I check in with myself, like, what have I done good today? And what could I possibly do better tomorrow? Let's not turn it into a negative, like, what have I done bad today? It's like, what could I possibly do better tomorrow? And it's about being a better person on a daily basis, mate. And I am no saint, of course, but I'm a lot better than I was, even 5 years ago. I'm always moving forward. I try hard to be a better person, man. That's all it is. That's all we need to do.
Yeah. That's fun though. It doesn't matter. I mean, it could be with running Encapsulator. It could be just you being you. Isn't that the fun part in life? The getting better part? Isn't that the fun part?
I agree, man.
That's how I would like that kind of, you had said something, and I thought it was really cool. You said something along the lines of, I wish people could have what I have.
Yes.
And I just, man, I just thought that was just another added layer to the encapsulator king over there on just the legend. Like,
Thank you,
this
bro.
guy was homeless at one time. This guy was a heroin addict. This guy was all this stuff. You almost overdosed 15 times. Yet
Yeah.
you're here with us today saying, I wish people could have what I have.
Mm.
What did you like? Isn't that, I
Yeah.
mean, I find that incredible. Where
Thanks.
does,
You're an
what is
ama-
it you
you're a
have?
really You're an amazing listener, right? Good man. Thank you for. All right. So what I'm talking about is it's gratitude. That's what I wish people could have. I do. I don't know how it happened exactly, except I worked my ass off for it. But I'm able to turn a negative into a positive always. I always try and look for the glass half full, and and I am surrounded, as you could imagine, with people in the early days of recovery. So I'm surrounded around negativity, hate, anger, resentment often as well. And that's all that statement was ever about is even I don't know, I can find myself justifying the worst things at times. And that's the bit where I wish other people, because it's happiness. I just want people, I wish people could be, and I'm not saying you guys aren't. I just say sometimes when I'm speaking to someone who's angry, resentful, hurt, pain, I just wish that they could have a bit of that happiness, because it's that happiness that keeps me moving forward. You
Yes.
know, that's the stuff. Gratitude is my drug. You know, it's the
Yeah.
stuff that keeps me moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you. I feel you. So like, so right now you got the encapsulator, but you also go around and you talk to hospitals and detox centers and stuff like
Yes,
that.
you've been listening again, Brad. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Well, I tell you, I am a, I'm always hungry to get better myself. And kind of like we talked about earlier before we got on air, I'm hungry to surround myself. Does
yeah,
my average get better with this guy in my circle, or does my does my average get worse? And I feel like my average gets better with you. So I'm wanting to digest. And I'm not saying this to pump you up. I'm literally, this is how I am, me. That's how I operate. I want to I want to pump myself full of positives and positive people. And I don't care what industry you're from or what arena you're from. You brought up LinkedIn.
yeah,
I think LinkedIn's beautiful because I get to meet so many amazing people from all. We have, at the time of this recording, we have 36 countries tuning in,
yeah.
and a lot of them are positive people I've run into through platforms like LinkedIn, or people that met me on LinkedIn and referred me to someone else knowing me. It's amazing.
The power of networking. Yeah, and Brad, yeah, I do. I guess I'm very blessed, and I say I guess because I mean it's just what I do anyway. But I do have the opportunity. You know, last week, at the moment with all the technology and the COVID stuff, I'm able to give have a chat with some people in prison, a group of men in prison, very easily now. Before you'd have to go through all these checkpoints, and I don't always pass those checkpoints to
Right.
like because I've got a bit of a record from some time ago. But
Hmm.
and I also have we call them H&I, it's hospitals and institutions. It's when I get the opportunity to share my experience, strength, and hope with other people trying to have and do what I'm doing. You know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, everything we're talking about, we call that the double win. By adding value to others, you in turn add value to your own. Uh, that's living the good life.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool. I love how you turned that into a positive. And I agree, like it's a selfish program, yeah, but we only keep what we have. And I believe it it's kind of like I do everything to help people because I do love to see people smile. I love to see people happy. And if I can be a part of that, it makes me feel really good. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm happy to make you happy because it
Yeah.
makes me happy.
Well, yeah, I read a stat recently. Uh, it said something along the lines of, and it had to do with teaching, and
Yeah.
75% of teaching is relationships, and 25% is the content. And
Yeah.
I'd imagine
That's
for you going into those places. I mean, even though you're in there to deliver content and all that stuff, it's probably you, like you are selling the content. Like we talk about how relationships are the true power grid.
Yeah.
And your ability to connect with those guys is probably your juice, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I would never have known it. Even 2 years ago, I would never have known it. It all started on LinkedIn, Brad. It all started with my business journey. You know, I don't know. Thank God I've got this ability for some reason to be able to connect with all right, it's like this. I can connect with the roughest, toughest, bullheadiest, most professional. I've just got, I don't know, I've been gifted with this ability, and it comes back to just being honest, like sharing my vulnerabilities, acknowledging something that you see good in that person is a great way to get any relationship started. It's just like that. It's all you have to do.
Yeah.
So simple.
Yeah. But it's, I would extend a little bit further. It's not enough to just acknowledge it. It's gotta be part of your DNA. You gotta actually believe. You gotta believe that there's some good in that person. It's gonna be like, cause you're an authentic guy. I think
Thank you.
people get that. Like they see that and they really truly believe that you feel that there's good in them. And because people have to know that you care before they're going to buy into what's coming out of your mouth, right?
Yeah. That's so cool, right? Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's all very true, and I'm so grateful that I do feel like I am, and I wasn't a nice guy before. It's not that I wasn't, but I didn't know how to be. But today I am, mate. I just want to share the love and kindness, and I don't know, I've got a little bit of a recipe on, I believe you can teach gratitude to someone, you know, like, I don't know if that's actually a debatable thing, because they say, like, what comes first, happiness or the gratitude? I'm pretty sure it's the gratitude that comes, but they're very closely aligned, you know, but anyway,
It's a good debate.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. I just got one last thing, and then we're going to get on the Encapsulator train.
Sure.
You said one time, and I really appreciate this. You said, "I've never said I've got this." I guess you tapped into that at the very beginning. Like,
didn't I? Yes.
Yeah. Don't you think that? Because like, we have lots of different types of listeners on this. Don't you feel like that's kind of a across the board type thing? Like, it doesn't matter if you're at the CEO of Microsoft or you and I. Don't you feel like if anyone ever feels like they've reached their destination, they're going to stop growing, right?
It's humility. It's the definition of humility. And I also say, the minute you say you're humble, you just lost humility as well. And it's that same thing. Like, the minute I think I've got this, I just lost it, Brad. So that's where I said in the beginning around the sobriety king, absolutely. I'm not saying I'm the king forever. I'm just, anyway. But yeah, it's around that, acknowledging that I don't have this. I've got to work my ass off to keep this. And the minute I forget that, I'm fucked, basically.
Right.
You know? Don't ever forget.
No, you can't. I feel you.
No.
So let's like, before we start talking about the Encapsulator, you've got some sleeves on that right arm. Are there any? Are there any on there that you got once you started getting on the good guy train? Like, did you add any after that, or are those all pre?
Nah, this is all done in recovery. This is all done in Bali, quite a spiritual place, all by the same tattoo artist. And there's an absolute story, the whole 60 hours of tattooing. There's a story to this guy is even the protector of all my fallen brothers and sisters who have overdosed.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the protector. Anyway, there's a story to everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty special. Thank you.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, so my brother, one of my brothers lost his niece to a car accident. There's a little bit of a story behind that too, but he put something on his left shoulder. So every time he touches his left shoulder, it reminds him of her. And I was just curious if you had anything to that.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
What's one of the most common misconceptions about Australia?
It's got to be the kangaroos, I guess, because
Yeah.
it's so funny. Like if you go to Asia, they always talk about and even America. I've heard it
Oh
said
yeah.
too. You know, that people think there's kangaroos just jumping around everywhere. There's not. There's not. But maybe yeah. Let's say that for sure. Like kangaroos, you got to go bushing. They're not just jumping around everywhere.
How often do
That's
you get
hilarious.
how often do you get asked by Americans or people from different continents about toilet water and how it flushes? Have you ever
Oh,
heard that one?
yeah, I have. Actually, no, I don't. Isn't it a European thing? Isn't it
I don't
America,
know.
and Australia, and Europe is different? It's got to do with the equator, doesn't it? Listen to me. Oh, Mr. Stein. No, I've never. I don't think I've heard. I know what you're talking about, but no one's asked me that one.
Okay. All right. We were this whole podcast episode was starting to become too much about you, so I had to break into the toilet water
Yeah,
to kind of bring
sure.
it back to me.
Yeah, of course, Brad. Mate, if I can share a little bit about Encapsulator,
Yeah,
I
let's
know
do it.
I mentioned, so, and you already know this story because you know everything about me, Brad. You're a legend, a good listener. But so I hit 5 years clean and sober. You know, a massive milestone, and that was back in like 2016. Um, and I was working in the office of Glebe House. That's the rehab that I work in now, and it's the rehab I went through in 2009. And I was reflecting on my journey that day, full of gratitude. You can imagine, like 5 years is a big number, you know.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, bloody hell, I wonder what I was like when I came into this place. What was I thinking? How was I feeling? We always remember the good times. I forget about the bad times. And I thought, I wonder what it'd be like if I had have recorded a video of the true essence of who I was, like. And I thought maybe I should do that and send it to myself in the future for my 10-year milestone. And that's basically how Encapsulator was born. I bought a camera. I recorded a message on video. I answered some questions that I did a little bit of research on to help me guide me through the video. And the minute I started that recording, Braden, I realized this is so unique. I've never recorded and talked to myself in the future like that before. And I immediately thought this is going to be so wonderful for the men coming through our program and all my, my peers and connections in recovery to be able to document, track, and be able to reflect on their progress years down the track. And I'm not talking about social media stuff. I'm talking about the raw, unguarded truth as well, and be able to share that with our loved ones as well. So that's where Encapsulator was born from that, mate.
Man, so cool. I would call that I was thinking about this when I was first reading up on it, and then I obviously watched stuff on it because I think it's a really cool concept. You see kids and families do similar things. Like when I graduated from high school, we all like we took pictures and we took just anything that we want saved and we put in a little, almost like a little bottle, and then they stored it away for us. And then at our 20-year reunion, we all brought them out, and it made me think of that when I was reading up on yours. Yours is so much better because you can hear the voice. Like me, I'd rather have video than a picture.
Yes,
because you could see it in motion and you can hear their tone of their voice, and I think that's a really cool concept.
Thank you. It is. It's a whole nother level, and who knows where we go in the future, But and look, if I can just add to, like I said to you in the beginning, that I did a big trip to America. I travelled 18 states in a camper van with my best mate, right? And the reason I want to bring this up is because it was because of that trip. I was inspired by so many amazing American entrepreneurs who actually literally inspired me to come back from that trip and launch and build Encapsulator. So like it kind of goes back to that thing I said about how much I love the American spirit, mate.
It is cool. And and I like that we're kind of touching on this because originally you were talking about how what you would have said to, I mean, what you would have said to yourself when you first went into uh,
Yeah.
where
Yep.
you're actually contributing now. But like you said, this could be for anything. Like this could be for anything. It could be for reflection. It could be just talking to your baby girl, right at birth, or you're wanting to say something to your kiddo when they turn 18, or to yourself when you're retiring, or could be so many different things, right?
Yeah, thanks. Look, I'm going to just be really honest with you with this, right? So yeah, the applications are limitless, and Brad, I hear the most amazing feedback from people like yourself, and almost every single person I ever speak with, right? They love it, right? Like, we provide digital time capsules, allowing individuals to reflect on your present moment and record your hopes, your dreams, your fears, and your future aspirations locked away into this time locked vault. So the countdown begins, your content disappears, and it's delivered to you at a date in the future, right? So when I give that little bit of a pitch, people give me amazing feedback, but it's been really slow, right? Like, I work my ass off day in, day out, and it's all good. Like, I've had so much fun. Like, I've loved, look, I'm here talking to you because of Encapsulator, really,
Right.
because
Yeah.
of my presence on the LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But we've still got a long way to go too, so I'm still missing something. Like, if you love it and everyone else says they love it, why aren't we? Look, I could invest $100,000 today on the tech side of things. Like, it's
Yeah.
a long journey, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's been a
Totally.
lot of fun, and I feel like I'm making really good progress. But we've still got a little way to go too,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So,
Well, like everything else to this point in your life, it's going to be worth it in the end. And
I
it's,
believe so, mate.
growth happens with struggle. I mean, friction, whether you're talking about bone growth or relationships or building a company, friction's part of the growth. So,
And it's
yeah.
part of the learning process too, isn't it?
Yep.
Like, we learn what we need, what we want. And look, we have provided hundreds of people with an amazing document to be
Mm.
delivered, and has been delivered through testimonies that we've got, and also people who've locked them away for 5 and 10 years time. This isn't a slow process. Like, you can't get feedback from a time capsule video that's locked away for 10 years when you started the company 2 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah.
But there's something about this experience of recording a video message to your future self that's even more profound than the discovering it, I believe. Like, it's very therapeutic. It's this therapeutic technology allowing individuals to express themselves without fear of judgment, lower the front, the ego, and get in touch with themselves,
Yes.
maybe like they never have before.
Right. Well, I tell you what, buddy, we're almost out of time. It's
All right.
time for me to start checking you up from the neck up. And uh, wait, I got 2 questions for you, and then we're cutting you loose.
Hit me.
And you can go hang out with the kangaroos.
Hey, Skip.
When you're at your best, what does that look like?
Oh, great question. I love it. So it's probably half an hour after the gym. That's how I get to my best, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So lifted heavy, and something happens in my body. My endorphins are going. So I've drank my protein, and I'm just happy. I'm smiling. I'm talking to people in the street. When I'm talking to people in the street, I'm just saying hello. I think it's so important just to say hi, how you going to people. I'm being kind and sharing the love, Simple as that, mate. That's the shit that makes me the happiest ever. Making a stranger smile is, and the other one would be spending time with my children and my precious little 3-year-old daughter in the morning when she slaps me on the chest and she says, "Good morning, Daddy. It's a beautiful day outside." It's hard.
Doesn't get better.
That's what happened this morning, man. She's so amazing.
Doesn't get better, and that feeling does not go away.
It's
When I'm talking about my own kids, I talk about, I've got two boys, and they're not 3-year-olds anymore. They're 14 and 17, but man, I still remember those feelings. That's the best. It doesn't get any better.
Well, you know what? I missed that with my 19-year-old. I was in jail and I was using, so to get it again now, it's the most valuable gift ever.
Yeah, 100%, man. Love that. Thanks for sharing that. All right,
Great.
buddy. You have got 30 to 45 seconds to talk to all of our listeners out there.
Yep.
30 to 45 seconds to tell them how they can create, how can they best create the best version of themselves. Go.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Brad. I think, well, put me on the spot, but let's just talk about gratitude and happiness, sharing the love and kindness. You know, it's that stuff. Remember, the more we put out and give back to the universe, the more kindness and love we share, the more the universe will provide in whatever form that is. You know, just be a good person. And look, I know bad shit happens all the time, but it's all about our perspective as well. So making the most of what we do have today, and and giving back. Service keeps me clean. Talking to others, sharing my experience, strength, and hope keeps me clean and sober, and I'll keep doing that, mate.
Oh, service, feeding the soul. Love it. Hey, buddy, man, do I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope we do this again sometime soon, and man, I hope your Encapsulator